We play for our schools, teammates, fans, families, and alums.
Lowney walks in, fires,
he scores!
We play for our jerseys. We play for our league.
Kittinger across the line, kicks it to his forehand, swings it back over, scores!
We play with passion and pride.
65 minutes, we stay together.
We are yesterday's heroes. We are today's champions. We are tomorrow's legends.
WCHA champions!
We are the WCHA. Tradition starts here.
Coming up on Inside the WCHA, we'll recap all the semifinal action from last week. Plus, Commissioner Bill Robertson and WCHA columnist Jack Kittinger join us to talk about the championship game and the rest of the 2016-2017 season. And finally, both head coaches will give us a preview of the final game of the WCHA Playoffs. Down to the final two. Hello everybody and welcome to this edition of Inside the WCHA. I'm Ryan Kastenschmidt, joined by Andrew Jalkin. It's championship week here on Inside the WCHA. We're down to the final two teams. Before we get too much into that matchup, let's take a look at the semifinal highlights from last weekend. In our first series, the top seed Beavers hosted the 4-seed Falcons. Kevin Dufour started things off for the Falcons 9 minutes into the first period. 5 minutes later, the Beavers were able to answer back when Phil Marinaccio fired a shot off the back of goaltender Chris Nell. In the second period, Miles Fitzgerald put the Beavers in front for the first time, which would stand as the only goal in that period. It took Bowling Green just 32 seconds into the third period to knot things back up, getting a goal from Matt Polkamp. After exchanging another set of goals, the two teams would head to overtime. At the 17:23 mark, Kevin Dufour completed a hat trick and gave BGSU a 1-0 series lead. On Saturday night, it only took the Beavers 3 minutes to get on the board when Jerry Fitzgerald found the back of the net from the top of the slot. After 20 minutes of play, the score would remain 1-0. The Beavers' lead lasted just 1:35 into the second period as Kevin Dufour netted his fourth goal of the weekend. The 1-1 tie would last all the way until the third when Matt Polkamp scored on a shot from the top of the zone that found its way past Beaver goaltender Michael Bitzer. While BSU generated some chances late, Chris Nell stood tall and posted a 2-1 series-clinching victory.
Michigan Tech got on the board first in the other semifinal series. Mark Ock walked in from the point and wristed a shot over the blocker of Maverick goaltender Jason Pulowski. MSU tied it up before the first period ended when Charlie Girard tipped a shot from the point over the glove of Angus Redmond. The 1-1 tie would last all the way to the third period, but the Huskies took over from there. Reed Sturos scored for the third game in a row, 3 minutes and 31 seconds in, on a feed from Alex Gillies. Jake Jackson made it a 2-goal game just over 4 minutes later, scoring his 4th goal in the last 4 games and 9th of the season. Gavin Gold and Dane Burks added 2 more goals late, and the Huskies skated to the 5-1 win and a 1-0 series lead. Saturday night, it was a bit of a different story as Minnesota State junior forward Zeb Knutson scored the game's only goal 6 minutes and 29 seconds into the second period. Knutson was able to make some space in the neutral zone and take a long Clint Lewis feed down on a breakaway for the goal. Minnesota State held Tech to a season-low 15 shots on goal while taking 23 of their own. Maverick netminder Pulowski registered his second shutout of the season in the 1-0 victory. Tech made sure they wouldn't be shut out again on Sunday night, taking a 1-0 lead 7 minutes in off the stick of freshman Gavin Gold. MSU would quickly tie things up 49 seconds later on a dump-in from the red line that Tech goalie Angus Redmond mishandled. Gold then capitalized twice in the second period as the Mavericks were called for a pair of too many men on the ice penalties. After Chris Leibinger added an empty net tally in the third, the Huskies came away with the 4-1 win and a berth in the WCHA Playoff Championship.
So this is how the final playoff picture lays out after the semifinals finished up. Tech swept 7-seeded LSSU in the quarterfinals and then outlasted the 3-seed Mavericks last weekend. 4th-seeded Bowling Green swept past Fair State in the first round, then became the only road team to win a series during the WCHA playoffs by upsetting Bemidji State. The 2017 WCHA Championship will be hosted by the Huskies on Saturday night and marks just the 3rd time these two teams will meet this season.
We're now joined by Commissioner Bill Robertson. Bill, there's a lot of parity in the league throughout the year. How exciting did that make each weekend to watch for you?
Well, it was super exciting from the conference office perspective because every night anything can happen, and that's the way college sports goes these days. But I like the fact that we had 4 teams in our conference that had over 20 victories, and that's a milestone, and that's a congratulatory to the 4 schools that were able to achieve that 20-win plateau. But from night to night, the WCHA was very competitive, and we thought we may see a couple upsets in the quarterfinal series, but that did not happen. And at the end of the day, what did transpire was the fact that our top 4 seeds all advanced to the semifinals, which tells you that the best teams in the league for this year advanced to the semifinal series. And of course, now we're on to the championship weekend.
Heading into the championship this weekend, after seeing how the new home ice format has worked in the past couple weeks, what are your thoughts on how that change works so far this season?
Well, I like the fact that it rewards the teams that have the best record and achieved to this point what they need to do to have home ice advantage. I think it's critical these days that when you do have home ice advantage or home field advantage in any other sport, it generally leads to a fact that you're going to have some things that you can control in your own environment. You have your own fan base. And for this weekend, Michigan Tech and their loud and rambunctious fan base will have a situation where they're going to be hosting this game, and there'll be many more fans of Michigan Tech in the stands than there will be Bowling Green. But that does not mean by chance that means they're going to win the game necessarily, but what it means is they've earned the right to host this championship, and it should be a great weekend for college hockey in the WCHA.
Been a couple other changes to the league this year, including the overtime structure and the point system. When you made these changes this year, have you seen the kind of outcomes that you were expecting from the season's perspective as you made those changes this year?
There's no question that the overtime procedures and the 3-on-3 were things that we needed to look at as a conference overall. And then when we talked about it last summer, we felt it was in the best interest of the WCHA. And that comes from the administrators, the head coaches, our executive committee, and all the way down to the conference office. We think it's been a good addition to the league. And what I really like about it as commissioner is that when you leave a contest now in the WCHA, you have a conclusion, you have a winner. And I like that. Last year we had so many ties at the end of the regular season that I felt driving home from many games that, geez, I wish we could do something to make sure we have a winner. And we talked about it and thought it would be good for our league to step up and do this. And I think it's proven to be a very good tool for the league and a great recruiting tool for all 10 conference institutions. And I like the direction we're heading. And I thought we had a very good first year. There was a few kinks here and there, but we got those ironed out early in the season. I think it's been a terrific addition to the WCHA.
Michigan Tech and Bowling Green this weekend for the championship. How big of a championship matchup do you think this is going to be between these two teams?
Well, if you look at the beginning of the year, the media poll and the coaches poll had Bowling Green State University as our #1 team. That did not transpire at the start of the season, but they've come a long way since the new year started, and they've played really good hockey. So they're a very dangerous hockey club at this point of the year. And then I look at Michigan Tech, and they have great leadership with their head coach in Mel Pearson, and they've gotten great goaltending. this year as well in the second half of the year. They're hosting the game, which should give them some type of advantage as they've earned, as we've discussed. But I think it's going to be a terrific game. You have two teams that have lots of offensive weapons, but at the same time, their goaltending has played extremely well the second half of the year. So it'll be fun to be in a raucous atmosphere up in Houghton, Michigan this weekend.
All right, thanks for joining us this week, Bill.
All right, thank you for having me.
Coming up after this quick break, we'll be joined by WCHA hockey columnist Jack Kittinger. Plus, each of the head coaches competing in this week's championship game gives a preview of the matchup.
Inside the WCHA is brought to you by BLC Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, visit blc.edu.
College hockey fans, you can now watch every game, every night from your own home. From Anchorage to Alabama, Big Rapids to Bowling Green, and all points in between. All your favorite teams live on WCHA TV. Affordable season, monthly, and game day passes are available. Sign up today and don't miss a thing. Join us at WCHA.TV.
Welcome back to Inside the WCHA. We're now joined by Jack Kittinger. Jack, thanks for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
So this year with the new rule changes in the WCHA, there's been differences in the overtime and point structure throughout the season. What's been how that's played out throughout the year? How have you seen that one in action?
Yeah, well, it definitely affected the standings, I think. You look at the last weekend of the season, you had a couple games that went to overtime and had to go to 3-on-3. I think that last game between Ferris State and Lake Superior State determined whether Lake State would be the 7th seed or the 8th seed, and it turned out that Lake State was able to win the shootout. So they were playing Michigan Tech in the first round instead of Bemidji State's. I think it's a little things like that made the season just that much more interesting. I think just as far as excitement goes, I think it was good for fans. I saw 3-on-3 a couple times, and everybody in the arena was really into it and on the edge of their seats, and it made for a more exciting than just an average tie. And I think just the 3-point games in general are a little more. It's that much more at stake because there's an extra point there to win or lose, and that, as we saw, can mean a lot at the end of the season standing. So I think it was a really successful move to do that.
Michigan Tech and Bowling Green meeting this weekend in the championship. Do you see it being an offensive explosion, or do you think it'll be more of a defensive battle?
That's really it's really hard to say. You look at some of the scores from this past weekend. BG scored 6 goals against Bemidji State. I think Tech had 9 goals against Minnesota State, but they were also shut out in that one game. BG, one of those games was 2-1. I think it might be a little more high scoring just because you figure, I think it might be a little more defensive, just because you figure when you have one game, teams aren't necessarily going to want to take a lot of risks because they know it's one and done. You don't want to have your defenseman pitching too much or whatever when you might do that in a 3-game series when there's another chance potentially for you to come back.
Feeding into the next question then, what's the difference when teams have this 1-game elimination versus the 3-game series like we've seen the past 2 rounds of the playoffs?
Well, I mentioned before, I do think teams probably take a little fewer risks, maybe. And I think, you saw that in the past with the Final 5. Those games were a little more low scoring. I think that Ferris State, when they won it last year, I think it was a 1-0 win in the finals. I might be getting that wrong. I know it was a really low scoring game. And I think the atmosphere is probably a little more going to be a little more tense because the fans are going to be on edge the entire game. You never know what's going to happen. I think Tech sold out already on Monday, so they always have a nice atmosphere there. So I think having the home sites and having the one game is just going to be a crazy, intense atmosphere, and I think it's going to be a really enjoyable game to watch.
All right, well, we're looking forward to that game this weekend, and thanks for joining us again, Jack.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew. Now that we've talked to the WCHA commissioner and gotten Jack's thoughts as well, we're now going to take time to talk to the coaches and hear what they had to say about this upcoming weekend's playoff matchup.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time it was that Michigan Tech won the playoff championship. So that's one of the things you have on your list every year, on our goal list. And now we have one game to get the job done. But this group here, this senior group, has accomplished a lot since they've been here at Michigan Tech. And I know this is one of those things on their list that they'd like to get done before they leave here. And it'd mean a lot to not only those seniors and our team, but to the university and our hockey community. So we're excited about this opportunity, and we're looking forward to the game on Saturday. Now, one of the reasons you want to finish as high as you can in the standings is to get in a game like this, put yourself in a situation like this in case there's any upsets. And obviously last weekend Bowling Green took out the #1 seed, so we get to host, a one-game winner-take-all. And I think it's going to be fantastic. I mean, I don't think this community has seen a game this big, obviously in my tenure and since I don't know when, maybe in the 70s. But it's going to be a great game to be a part of. And what I like about it is your fans, the fans who are here all year and back your team, get rewarded. They get to enjoy a game like this on campus, and I think it's going to be fantastic.
What would it mean for our program to win the Broadmoor Trophy? First of all, we've never won a Broadmoor Trophy before just because of this new league, but BGSU has won playoff championships before, and anyone that's been to our rink sees all those banners up there and knows how historied this program is. So it would mean to me, it would mean that we celebrate the history of BG hockey, but it would mean BG hockey is present as well, and we're celebrating championships in the present. We'd be very proud. The last 7 years have been a process, and it's been more winning than losing, but we're trying to close that gap. So it would mean that BGSU hockey is relevant again in the college hockey world. Now, we think we're relevant, but you winning a championship, that solidifies that relevancy. And we've got a fan base that 7 years ago fought really hard, 8 years ago, to make sure people at BGSU knew how important this hockey program was, both on campus and off. And I would be really happy to share this, to share a championship with them, and I know our players would be as well.
All right, Andrew, one game left, winner take all. What are your thoughts on this weekend's high-powered WCHA championship game?
Well, Ryan, the Falcons were a team that coming into the year a lot of people had as the regular season champions, but now they put themselves in the position to win that conference championship. Michigan Tech's coming into this one looking really hot though, so I'm going to be really interested to see how this one plays out this weekend.
Thanks, Andy. It's sure to be a very good matchup this weekend. Earlier this week, the WCHA announced their postseason awards as Michael Bitzer was named Player of the Year, Daniel Brickley was named Defensive Player of the Year, and freshman Mark Michaelis was named Rookie of the Year in the WCHA. And Tom Saratori, coach for BSU, was also named WCHA Coach of the Year. Now we're all looking forward to this weekend's matchup for the WCHA Championship between the Bowling Green Falcons and the Michigan Tech Huskies. But this is the last show for the season for Inside the WCHA, so for Ryan Kastenschmidt, Andrew Jelkin, we thank you for joining us this season. And of course, we look forward to this weekend's matchup as well as the 2017-2018 season. And so until then, we'll joining you in the fall. But for now, enjoy your summer and have a great weekend.